of Adjustment, our November meeting. And we'll do a roll call, please, Scott.
In attendance, we have Roland Mayhew, Richard Body, Jane LaRoche, Michael Delavecchia, Marcia Hayward, staff in attendance, planning director Kathy Yaniski, and myself, Scott Pelchak.
Richard, you'll be a full voting member tonight since Mike Foot is out. And staff in attendance, Kathy and Scott. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting?
Absolutely.
A motion to approve, please.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. All in favor? Motion accepted. Thought we did have an extension, correct?
Yes.
I think we do.
That's the first thing. Yeah.
All right. First thing on the agenda is the extension for Solar Gardens. Are they here tonight? Please step up and state your name.
Hi, I'm Adam Sandall, project manager with CMA Engineers, representing NESG Laconia One Solar. And we're requesting a 6-month extension of our zoning approval tonight.
Very good. Only 6 months you need, Adam?
I think that's the limit, isn't it?
Yes.
Will we have action over the winter is my question. You know, is that,
Yeah, so they're talking about doing some limited tree clearing and access. I know that they're finalizing the building permit here soon. They've met, I believe, all of the other conditions of the planning board approval, conditional approval. But they're planning to start in earnest here in the spring.
very good. Wasn't there an issue with the driveway?
That's been resolved. with the
Very good.
planning board.
Excellent. Okay. I see no issues with doing an extension. Can I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that, on app number Z02019-0021, we make a move to allow the extension. It'll say
Second.
no-
Thank you, Roland.
Second,
All
or, I'm sorry, I think he
Yeah,
did say
Roland
second.
beat you to it.
Yeah. yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Very good, Adam. Get to work.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks for coming in. Moving right along, we have 604 Endicott Street, the Tiki Hut.
Good evening.
Your name, sir?
Keith O'Leary with Craft Beer Exchange, one of the tenants at 604 Endicott Street, representing the Tiki Plaza.
How can we help you tonight?
So we're looking to install an electronic messaging center, an electronic digital sign, and to replace the existing standalone sign that's out there. I believe all the dimensions, et cetera, have been submitted by Don Gagnon.
We need a special exception for that, Kathy? For that sign?
Yes, they do. Yep.
121, 9.
Your table 5 has the sign regulations.
All righty.
Which sign is it you're replacing?
It's called the Tiki Plaza at 604 Endicott. That's correct, yeah.
Did you want to have people, or can we ask questions
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Any board members would like to ask questions of Keith?
I'm just a little confused by this picture that was submitted.
Mhm.
Okay, it says, and it's got outlined here, you know, this outline right here, and it says 4x6, 100, and that's 126 square feet. Is this the, what's the new sign here, or is
Yeah,
this the
it's-
original?
It's gonna be 4 feet by 6 feet.
Right,
And it's gonna, see where the outer white timber posts are?
yeah,
It's gonna set inside there. It's gonna replace the existing dimensions of that sign. He had it custom made to fit within those timber parameters.
but this is the picture of the original sign now, right?
That's the sign that exists there, and that, what
Now.
you see in blue in the middle there, where it says Tiki Plaza and
Yep.
The Annex and
Yep.
603 Candy, that all becomes the digital board.
This right here becomes the digital board.
Correct.
Right,
So he's using the existing frame,
right.
and he's taking out the innards that the print is now on.
Okay,
I want to just clarify, because the way it's sketched here, it looks like it's just the annex that's gonna be this new sign, but it's this in its entirety.
It's the whole range. We're using it, there's 4 establishments in in the Tiki Plaza. My craft beer pub, my craft beer package store, the 603 Candy, and then the Lake Vibes. All 4 of them will be utilizing the electronic messaging board.
It'll be like this.
can I see that?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like this.
That's just a sample of what it's gonna look like. That's when it's
Right.
from Marines,
Oh,
and he's gonna have
okay.
it digital.
Okay,
So he sent us that as a sample.
okay, I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to be an electronic messaging board, you said?
Yeah, that's what the official name is Electronic Messaging Center,
Yep.
but it's the digital board.
How often does a message change?
Within the parameters of I don't know the specifics, Don Gagnon has the specifics, but it's built so that it meets all the regulations, that you can't change it like every second.
Yeah.
Right, so it's built in how fast you can change it
Okay.
by state and legal, state legislative regulations.
Any other questions for Keith right now?
You said it's gonna be 4x6, just the sign.
Just the digital sign.
Yeah, not where it has Tiki Plaza.
Correct.
Just below,
It's-
okay.
It's the sign itself.
Is that the only sign on the premises?
They may not
Each
exceed 4 square
unit
feet.
has a smaller sign above their entry, but that's the common, the community sign, and the only community sign on the property.
Oh, shoot. 4 square feet,
4 square feet is nothing.
nothing.
This book is 4 square feet.
Is it on both sides?
Yes.
And they are customarily associated with residential. It's not really associated with residential, though. Okay. My bad.
Did you wanna see this?
Well, Jane just had this thing.
Right here, electronic messaging right here. And as long as he meets, you know,
Yeah.
all of that,
Sounds good.
I don't
Okay,
see any
Keith, you can have a
problems.
seat, please, for a moment. I have to ask if there's any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this application. Please come up now and make your wishes heard. Okay, barring that,
Too late.
discussion amongst the board.
What were you guys just speaking of?
I was reading the, page
It looks okay.
126 in the binder about electronic messaging center, and as long as he, to me, abides by the conditions that are set there with regarding illumination and dimming, et cetera, I don't have any problem.
No, I think it'd be good.
I think it would be good.
Mike, do we, the owner is Don, Mr. Gagnon, and are we requiring somebody, like he's representing a group, there's no written documentation that authorizes him to represent anybody? So that's question number one.
Good point.
And then, Director, a quick question for you. If the requirement is for 72 square feet, if I'm seeing that correctly, why is...
Say that one more time?
If the requirement is for 72 square feet, why is he requesting well, that's another question. The application's kind of incomplete here,
I have 32 square feet.
right? I mean, there's no information here, these are the 2 pages that we were given. There's nothing on here at all. I have 4 no's. There's no request for the special exemption that they're requesting relief from. It's an incomplete application. So I don't even know what they're asking for, according to the paperwork. I'm hearing what he's saying, so I get that.
Did
So-
you have these pictures?
Oh, yeah, I have all that, but all I'm saying is that
Yes.
He's talking about.
is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the application is incomplete.
Yeah.
And so, again, I'm not gonna make a huge deal about that, but now we have a person representing the entity, and we don't he could just be some guy walking down the street and just gonna stand before us. So I'm just saying, you seem to know him, and if you do,
Yeah, he's
then-
on here.
I don't know.
He's on here as the agent.
Okay.
the presenter is on here?
Yeah,
He's listed as the agent.
Right, agent.
Oh, the signature there, okay. Okay, I see, okay, great, my mistake.
Good point, Richard.
All right, but anyway, fair enough on that. So anyway, so I just don't know what we're requesting, so if the requirement is 72 square feet, and he's asking for 24 per side, yeah?
Because of the special exception for the sign, he'll then have to turn in a sign permit, which will have to go through me, and I'll have to recalculate his entire thing.
Okay, so the special exemption is just for the,
Seed style sign.
understood, fair enough then, okay. Are you satisfied with that?
I'm satisfied with the explanation. I share your concerns about
The
the application.
Okay, fair enough then, okay.
Yeah.
So those would be my only things there.
Are there any other questions for Keith? So, I think the sign would be okay in that area. I don't see an issue with it.
Fun Spot is right across the street, and they've got their
And
message.
I'd like to entertain a motion, if somebody would like to do that.
Your turn.
The only problem is you have to go down through all the criteria for this
I know,
special
that's why I
exception.
wasn't
and-
sure.
And it's all kind of blank.
You
So,
could be brief for the
I
summary.
know, I could probably do that. I'll make a motion to accept or allow for the special exception for application ZO2023-0103 for 604 Endicott Street North to have a electronic messaging sign. And for the special exception, the use has to be specifically authorized in the ordinance, and it is. The request will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. This kind of sign is the same kind of sign that neighboring businesses have, so I can't imagine it would create any more undue traffic than what is already occurring. The request will not overload public water, sewer systems, municipalities, runoff, et cetera. It has nothing to do with any of those municipality systems, so to me, that's irrelevant. The request will not create excessive demand for police, fire protection, schools. Again, an electronic messaging board really has no impact on any of those services. There and there are no special provisions anyone has mentioned that they want to impose.
I don't see-
It's going to go before planning, so
Yeah.
letter E should be fine.
That, it's actually special provisions for the use as set forth in this chapter.
Yeah.
And there are special provisions.
Like what I just read right here. So as long as he meets 235-60D with all the conditions that are set forth in the ordinance, okay, then I think we're all fine with that. And then E, the request will not disturb the general welfare of the public, or it doesn't alter the character of the neighborhood in any fashion, because it is going to be very similar to the character of the neighborhood. And the location is appropriate, because again, it mimics what is already there in that neighborhood. And so therefore, the request is consistent with the spirit of the ordinance and the master plan. And for those reasons, I would ask that it be approved.
Thank you, Marcia. We have a motion. Are we looking for a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Enjoy your sign, sir. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Moving right along, we have 73 Paugus Park Road. Is that applicant here?
You have what?
73 Paugus
Somebody-
Street.
On the street.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had a hard time finding it, but I found it.
No wonder I couldn't find it.
And I got to speak to the owner, so it's good. They've got-
Hello, ma'am. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name's Kimberly Rizzuto. I live at 73 Paugus Street. This is my aunt Patty Bartlett. She's just here to help if I stumble on
That's
questions.
fine, Patty. Glad you're here for support. How can we help you, Kimberly?
I'm looking to build an apartment over a garage on my property. I need to bring my mom up. My dad passed away this summer, and she's handicapped and senior. I'm an LNA by trade, and I want to be able to take care of her. And she's down in Mass right now, so it's kind of hard to do.
I understand. Okay.
So this is an ADU. It's going to be 750 square feet, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And it's above,
It's gonna be 720, 24 by 30.
yes.
well, it meets, it's under.
Under,
Yes.
yes,
It's
that's
under
what we
the
want.
requirements for the
Yes.
ADU. That's great.
Absolutely.
That's great. And at first, when I read your application, I wasn't quite sure where you were going to position it. But now that you tell me it's over the garage, that's great. Right? You're building up over the garage.
There isn't a garage there, there's gonna be a garage built with the apartment over. I live in a tiny house now, which
Yes.
would be better
Yep.
for access for my mom.
Yeah.
So I would move over to that dwelling.
I visited the property, and I guess my concern is you're gonna build the garage, and above it, you're gonna put the ADU above the garage.
Correct.
You have a very long lot, and there is a fence that separates your property from your northern neighbor, right? Isn't there a fence that runs along that whole length?
The only fence is a little fenced-in area on my property for my dogs to go.
That's the
There's-
wrong, you looked at the wrong place, I think.
Yeah, there's just on that, between
Okay.
us, there's just brush.
There's brush,
Yeah.
okay. So I was just curious about the setback. You have to meet the setbacks for this.
Absolutely plenty of room. There's 15 feet on one side, 10 on the back side. And she was gonna put it more towards the back
Yes.
side, so it's not close to the street at all.
Yeah, yeah.
On either side, so it doesn't affect anyone. We can show you exactly the, I took a picture here, so I think this might help. I don't know if you wanna pass it around. This is the whole
This,
end of the, this is the whole end of the, I got two.
okay.
There's a,
It's gonna have to go out like Mass Ave to Sheridan and turn,
This
I
is
mean,
her
I
house.
got lost.
Yes,
I
okay,
mean, I have
Yes.
a theory,
all
but
that
I didn't know
land.
where I was.
yes.
So
This
her
is
house
all
is
their land, this
technically-
is the
Yeah.
house.
I don't know,
And she wants to put it here.
it's on
I mean,
the
this-
third,
We can't say no.
front third
No,
of a third of an acre. So she's got
Mm-hmm,
all that land to put it,
yes,
put it
yeah.
on.
Yeah. I think I was concerned about the rear setback, because thinking that it was gonna be,
No,
Back.
it would come 10 feet, it's gotta be 10 feet from the back, we came in.
You
and
did
it's gotta
come in
be
10 feet,
From the
okay.
back, and it's 15 feet from all the other sides.
yeah, well,
And it fits in there fine,
great.
based on what we met with everybody on. I just think the picture gives you a nice visual of how much land is really there. You see a third of an acre and you go, wow, but the small house is on the first third, you get the other
Yes.
2/3.
It's a very large lot.
It is,
Well,
for a city lot, I think,
Yeah.
yes.
It is a good-sized lot.
Yeah,
So there's no issue on, Scott, on the green space won't be infringed?
Not there.
From initial looks, I had no concerns, but I can re-look at that.
Question.
It appears
you're
that they have
Catherine?
plenty of green space.
it looks like they have
yeah.
plenty
you
of
Catherine?
green space.
No,
Kim.
Kim.
Kim Rizzuto.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong, stupid me.
Want
looking
another
at the
picture?
wrong
You
one.
can pass that around.
Yep, I was there today.
Got one over here.
You got it back. Yep. Oops, sorry. It's to that side of the house. And there's just a little fenced-in area there for her dog.
Do you know what the footprint of that building is gonna be?
The garage with the, yes, it's 24 by 30, 720 square feet. It's less than the 750 required, that maximum.
Oh, boy, okay.
And so that'll be a two-car garage with the apartment upstairs.
Correct.
And Kim, you're gonna live in there and fix your house up for your mom, is that,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes.
Sounds good to me. You can have a seat right now unless there's any other questions by the board members for the ladies. Oh, that's fine. And, so I have to ask if there's any neighbors or residents that would like to speak for or against this matter? Nobody lives on Paugus Street, like to talk? Alrighty. Discussion? Sounds good to me. I don't see an issue, as long as they have enough green space and it's within the setbacks.
Yep.
Scott, if we approve this, then you'll just check that over, you'll do the math on that? One more?
Just really, submit the building permits.
Sure.
We'll still
Okay, perfect, that's all.
costs for plans.
Now, the building does that anyway, don't they?
No, it would get dispersed through the
Fair
departments to allow them to really pick it up.
Understood. Yep.
Okay.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we accept special exception 100105 SE. The use is specifically a request, the finding of fact is that the use is specifically authorized. It will not create undue traffic. The request will not overload the city's municipal systems in any way. The request will not create excessive demand for municipal services. Special provisions are none. The request will not create any additional health, safety, or welfare hazards. The proposed location is appropriate, and the use is consistent with the spirit and intent of the master plan.
Thank you, Richard. We have a motion. Anybody second? Thank you,
I'll
Roland.
second it.
Any further discussion with the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Enjoy your new home, Kim. Unanimous, thank you. Okay. We're doing good. Moving right along. 144 Lake Street. Don't see this application.
144 Lake
Hello.
Street.
36 square feet net area. 18 total street frontage.
And your name, ma'am?
Kate Sheehan.
Thank you.
Can you share this between?
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course I
Jane
can.
and I will share.
Absolute, oh,
That's fine.
okay, that's fine. Here, It's fine. I know, I'm very familiar with the property.
oh, you
I
are?
am.
Okay.
I went there today.
I'm not that familiar.
I usually
You're not
just-
local.
Oh, I
I
see.
usually
You're
like to talk to
This used
people,
to
but I
be
didn't see
a
anyone there.
cabin
Yeah, it's
colony
close
here
with you then.
called,
This
Like
is-
me.
Swiss
Yep, I was there.
Yeah.
This
I
is-
parked right
Well,
over
and
there.
there's one over here. Look at this one. I don't know how it got that big.
Unit 5 in it, on this
I don't know how
picture,
it happened.
it's the second from the end.
I know.
Over here.
Jeannie, oh, you got it. I've
I
got
have that.
I didn't give any pictures and I don't have enough for everybody, so I'm asking people to share.
Oh.
But it's, this one here.
She's gonna stay on the same footprint. She's just going up.
What's this building across the street?
That is Guilford, that's the Pogus.
Oh, okay,
something or
I
other.
thought so.
It's not even in
We're in
Laconia.
his restaurant. It's right
Yeah,
That's why it's scratching out.
On this side of the street.
my island's here.
Oh, it's right. Of course it is.
So this is Eastern Shores Condominium Complex. There's 23 condos there, they stand alone mostly, 23 and 24 kind of together. My husband and I bought number 5, which is 18 by 26, which calculates to be 468 square feet, and we wanted permission to do another level, a second story. It's a 113-year-old building, it's got its quirks, it's been there quite a while. The other condos here are just as old, but they've been slowly, in just the last 15 years, been replacing them. So in 15 years ago, I don't know if you noticed, there's 3 in the front. I always call them the triplets. They look pretty similar. They started replacing. They're number 10, 11, and 12. They're 2 stories. And then number 7 and number 14 in the waterfront area, they're 3 stories. And right now, as we speak, in the background, not in the waterfront, number 20 is being built to a 2-story right now. And I don't think, 24 and 23 are 2 stories, but they've been like that for decades. But mostly all of these have been done. These 6 changes, numbers 10, 11, 12, the 3 triplets, 7, 14, and 20, those are all been in the last 15 years. In fact, the last 3 years, 2 years, 3 of them have been done. And now we would like permission to go upwards to do that too. We asked all of our neighbors in our condo to give us permission. They gave us a letter to build. We gave them a picture of the house that we wanted, that. Nobody had a problem with it. A lot of people asked me to keep records so they could ask questions later on if they want to do the same kind of project. The Department of Environmental Services have given us a permit by notification. That was back in October. And I'm sure that these ones on the waterfront, they had to get their permits, one or the other type, themselves. What else? The total height of the building that we're proposing is 29 feet 6 inches. No bigger than, nothing abnormal, not 9-foot ceilings, just 8-foot ceilings. And I don't know if you have any questions for me.
I was always very curious about this waterfront one that's 3 stories tall.
Yeah.
How that can possibly meet the ordinance that I'm astounded at the height on that one.
Shocked when I saw it.
I was shocked.
It's right across from Rhode
The-
Island.
I live 2 doors away. The bottom cellar is kind of on an embankment, so I think that's why it looks so odd. It really feels like 4 stories when you look at it.
So you're staying within the same footprint,
Yes,
which you're grandfathered in terms of shore frontage or distance from the water, right? As long as she stays within the same footprint.
she's grandfathered for 18 by 26?
The footprint that she has and a single story, the reason she's here for
Right.
variance is
To go up,
the expansion.
right.
It's a pre-existing non-conforming use, and they
Right.
want to expand
Expand
it,
it out.
that's why they
Right.
need the variance.
Are we just looking that it has to stay under 35 feet?
Yes.
Yes.
Are we, is that what we're looking?
Yes.
That the building has to remain below 35 feet?
Correct. Yep. That's the maximum building height.
Is that 29?
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't know if
No,
anybody
no,
had
no,
a
not
question.
you. I was thanking the gentleman for closing that door because they were vacuuming
Oh.
downstairs.
We should do my car.
Any other questions for Catherine, folks? Okay, Catherine, you could have a seat, please. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this application? Please come up and address the board. Got no takers again.
I did have one question. On October 11th, I was here for
Come
a
up to me,
hearing.
mate.
On October 11th, I was here for a hearing. Is there anything I can do, that had to do with the body of water buffer? And I didn't get any kind of results of that. Is that something?
I don't recall October 11th speaking.
That was a holiday.
There was a hearing.
Not in this board.
Before zoning?
Was zoning
Not in this
board?
board.
It was in this room. I
Oh,
don't-
it could have been
no,
planning
it-
board,
It could have
maybe?
been planning
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
conservation.
or conservation, yes, but it wasn't before zoning.
Okay.
Phew, I thought I
I
was
don't-
losing it.
Don't recall. I don't know how you can deny it when there's others there like that.
No, I'm okay with 2 stories. 28, 29 feet is a high 2-story building.
Temporary placement.
But this,
This is 36.
That would have been
Yeah.
the Conservation Commission.
29
Oh,
is
was
not
it?
much
And their
lower.
role is advisory, so they wouldn't make a decision. They would just make
Yeah, what's
a
this one here?
recommendation to the board that's going to hear the
Unbelievable.
application.
How did they get that approved? I don't know how to scan that.
Excuse me.
Get this and this.
She has plenty of plans here, but,
Looking for the numbers, I didn't write it down
I
today.
can't read the fine print here. Is that 29?
Yeah, I think it is.
Catherine, on your elevation plan here, the print is so small, I
Yeah,
can't.
I brought a magnifying glass. Would that help?
Well, you could just tell me.
I can help.
He's got a good pair of cheaters on.
This is dirt.
I've got some plans that are a little bigger.
Well, you probably know what this number is right here. So we're just looking at this right here, right
Yeah,
there.
that's the 29.6.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the number. It's here, it's a little big, you still really can't read it, though, it's a little bigger. 29.6. Same number you're looking
Yeah,
at.
it seems like awful tall for a 2-story building.
Well,
Well, it goes down to here, underneath where the crawl space is.
That's underground.
The
yeah.
building really is only from here to here,
Right,
so he counted that in
okay.
when he did the
The
plan.
crawl space.
But that's gonna be
Yeah.
earth
Yeah.
up
Yeah,
to here.
This is the
Okay.
crawl space.
Mhm.
So it's actually,
It's actually, see, it's gonna be, I always have to look at the stairway to see how close it is to the ground. That's the stairs.
okay. Very good, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
The building height will also be verified at the time they pull their building permit. And if it exceeds 35 feet, the building permit would not be issued until a
Correct.
variance was received for the
Right.
height restriction.
Yeah.
I can't see a two-story building being over 35 feet in height. That's an awful tall building.
Yes. Even 29 feet is tall. But it seems to be the way we're going with this development here, is everybody's going 2 stories. I don't wanna see another tower like building number 7 and building 14. That's,
Yeah.
I hate to ask Catherine, but the height of buildings 10, 11, and 12, do you know how tall they are?
I only know that they are under 35,
Right,
but I didn't ask them to give me any documentation.
right. Well, building 7 and building 14 are under 35, and they stick out like sore thumbs. And they are sore. So I'm curious as to, you know, if you do building number 5 to 29 feet, it's gonna be,
Well, like she said, that also includes a crawl space.
4 feet are gonna
which
be
is gonna be
underground.
underground.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Alrighty,
When I said 29.6, I was counting in the crawl space, so
Right.
it's a
Correct.
lot
Right.
lower than
like
that.
4 feet will be underground of
Yeah.
that,
And
so
I have my magnifying glass, we can try to
you're
figure it out.
basically 24 feet.
She's prepared.
Yeah, she is.
Thank you, ma'am,
I can't see it myself.
thank you.
It's
Where's the
off.
handy gadget, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
29.6 to the bottom of the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you haven't, there's
That's
4
fine.
feet will be buried underground. So you could say it's 24 feet.
Nice drawings.
When I talked to the designer, I said, make it look as much as the triplets as you can, because that's what I want, that's what we were going for.
Very good. Okay, Catherine. Sorry to bother you so much. Discussion among the board?
Well, I'm like you, Mike, I don't want it to look anything like those, the very large ones there, and as long as she's got 4 feet below ground.
Did that tall one, how tall is it, and did they have to?
It's right to the max.
Okay, so
You
they're
know,
right at 35.
Yeah.
I went away for the winter, that's when I was
Right.
summer in Florida, and I came
Right.
back in the spring and saw that, and I couldn't believe
Yeah.
my eyes.
But
Yeah.
aesthetically displeasing, if I'm saying that politically
That's
nicely.
correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Very correct.
Aesthetically displeasing
From the water.
is not in the ordinance, so it's not anything that we have to deal with. Right. So my only thing would be, is just make sure that they put the shoreline permit, they have that, even though it's by notification, make sure that they have that in place. That would be my only condition if we approve.
They remain within the same.
Yeah, it would have to be because they're going up and because of the narrowness of the construction, the building department, they're gonna be getting into the ground. And the shoreline permit wants to know that they're digging in the ground, even though it's in, they'll prove it, but they wanna know what they're going to be doing.
That sounds like a motion to me, Richard. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve variance number, hang on a second, Street. 0106 VAR. The finding of fact is the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. Did we ask for public input on this?
Yes.
Did you? Okay, fair. The granting of the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. The spirit of the ordinance is observed. The granting of the variance would do substantial justice as increasing living space. And there is no information whether property values would be increased or decreased. And there seems, the hardship we are avoiding is, I don't know if I can answer a positive or negative in that at all. I am complete.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, Catherine, enjoy your new home.
The next one's tough.
All right. Right along, next up is 3436 Pine Street.
Could I just add one thing to the previous, Scott, from Loud, to just make sure that the shoreland permit by notification is on file?
So there's two here, so we're gonna do the multifamily first and
Understood.
then the additional unit
That's fine,
second.
that's fine,
So
as long- I'm
the
just making
special
a note that
exception
that goes
first
on.
to make it a multifamily, and then the variance to allow the additional unit. So which order? No, it's not, it's two-family, it's a two-family. No, multi is three. That's why they're going for the variance, multifamily. So I think this has to go first and that has to go second.
Are we going to do these separately or together?
I think they have to be done separately.
All right, okay.
That's what I was just asking Mike.
Hello, 34 and 36 Pine Street. Your names for the record, please?
Sure, Thomas Selling with TR Selling Engineering. Also with me is the owner of HBS Pine Street, Hike Sellian? Sellian, excuse me.
Pike?
Hike.
H-A-I-K.
We're here to discuss both a special exception for a change in use for a multifamily, excuse me, and also a variance after this application on density. As you mentioned, the property's at 34 Pine Street. What the owner would like to do is convert a 18 by 24 wood frame outbuilding, otherwise known as a garage in the previous life, into a single-family residence. Property is in an RG zone, and the property is served by the local municipal services, water, sewer, electric, and so forth, and it has a 10-foot wide paved driveway. We're asking for this special exception because it's authorized in the chapter. It's a multifamily is shown on table 1 as as permitted uses. The property will not create undue traffic congestion in the area. It's consistent with the zoning and other uses of the area as multifamily, two-family, and single-family residents in the area. As I mentioned, it's serviced by the city services. There'd be no changes in stormwater runoff and the like. There'd be no change in the green space. Right now, the existing coverage is 64.7. The proposed would obviously be the same. And the maximum allowed in the zone is 65%. So the green space has essentially been maxed out. With the addition of this single-family residence, the additional unit on the property, there'd be no change for the police department or the fire department. It turns out this property is located within the Housing Redevelopment Overlay District. And one of the parameters within that overlay district is the allowance to redevelop property into multifamily housing. There'd be no hazard created by the conversion of the garage to single-family residence, as I've outlined earlier here. We believe the location is appropriate because it's in a residential area, otherwise, or the zone is residential general. And it's consistent with the spirit of the chapter of the master plan about the residential zones are expressly allowed within the zoning ordinance. And I'd also like to share with the board, for way of a graphical representation, as to what's currently going on in the neighborhood in terms of the use.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
As you can see with the illustration, in the center of the drawing, sort of with the hatch, is the current property. Around it, immediately abutting it to the west, is a multifamily property. And interesting, across the street, there are a number of multifamily highlighted in red. And then the green of the two-unit structures, and the blue are single-family residents within that neighborhood. So in close proximity, there's already a number of multifamily dwelling, and therefore we would like you to consider approval of the special exception for this property as well. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So we're gonna take these separately, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
I did a drive-by there. It just looks crowded.
Very.
3 units would need 5 parking places.
But
That's
that
correct.
to me comes in under this one, under the variance to allow the additional unit, is when you'd hit them up with the parking business. That's where, to me, you would discuss the density and the parking would be when they want to do this. But just to change that to this, I think is, that this here is going to support that request. But this one,
So-
to me, is more controversial.
Right. So we should do the parking first.
No, I would do this one first. I don't know. I'm just saying that they,
They don't have the parking.
I don't know.
Well, they go together.
I know, but they have to be dealt with differently. I mean, separately.
It's our testimony that we understand that we have to meet the burden of proof on the special exception first, before we discuss the variance. I'll entertain mixing the two if you want, but I think it's cleaner and easier if we keep them separate.
Yeah. I can't-
Okay.
I would support keeping them separate. But whichever order you want to do them in,
Well, if they don't get the parking.
Not even
get them.
close.
then they can't get this.
Right.
Okay, so you want to go that one first then? The variance? Okay. All right.
Like I said, I did a drive-by there, and it just looked like it was packed. Couldn't squeeze anything else in there.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, I also would like to point out, by way of the plan, and I didn't mention it earlier, there's an existing wood shed right here, next to the garage that's gonna be converted. That would be removed to make provision for 2 more parking spaces in that area. It's a gravel area.
Uh-huh.
So that's where the additional 2 spaces required by your ordinance would necessitate
This is the real problem here.
as a result of the conversion.
Like number 5, would he be able to get out?
I have a question, because I drove by
This is
today and
all-
stopped as well. You have 2 cars over here,
This is a
but you
10-foot
can't
wide
get
driveway,
past
he
them,
said.
so
How
if
do
you have more parking spaces there, they're not gonna be able to get out.
Hey, guys.
Right,
Have to
so
be 16,
the building is
20
20
inches
feet,
long.
2 inches from the fence line, and
Marcia,
the fence line is somewhere, it varies 6 inches to a foot from the property line. So the 10-foot driveway serves as the driveway, and there's an additional 10 feet to the west of the driveway that would allow for parking, and that's where it's currently being used in that fashion. They're parking up against the building, and the driveway serves the former garage, and then the driveway would serve to these, back to these 2 parking spaces up at the north end of the property. So there'd always be a means of ingress and egress to get to those additional parking spaces up adjacent to the garage. And we've also made provision, highlighted on the plan, there's a grass area that we'd use for snow storage in the wintertime. I'm sure that's the same fashion it's being used today.
I will apologize to you that I had this sidebar with him. I'll ask Tom, according to the variance, you will need 5 parking spaces. And that means that it's a 1.5 car dimension, which is 16 by 20, according to this diagram. It's gonna be 16 feet by 20 feet.
You're now asking me variance questions in a special exception hearing.
I think we want to talk about, let me ask the chairman, are we gonna talk about the variance first, or the special exception?
Like Tom said, they kind of go together, but we could talk about one or the
You
other.
do need to do them separately. They
Yeah.
are separate applications.
Yeah.
And they have separate criteria.
Right.
I think that the special exception, the special exception is to allow multifamily.
Right.
Single-family and duplexes are permitted uses in that district.
Right.
Multifamily is allowed by special exception.
Right.
If you have concerns about zoning criteria related to the variance, you may want to do the variance first and address those concerns. And then if those concerns are satisfied and you move to approve the variance, then you can go back and do the special exception.
Thank you, Catherine. So I think it's, the variance is gonna come first, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So Tom, if we're gonna talk about the variance first, let's go back to the conditions of the parking. And the parking, you have to have 5 parking spots. You have them nicely displayed on this. And you just told us that the driveway is a 10-foot wide driveway?
A point of order,
Yeah,
can we make a motion to stop the special exception proceeding and then initiate the start of the variance application?
go ahead.
Of
'Cause
course.
you're mixing,
Yeah.
so let's make it cleaner for the record, please.
Very good, Tom. You're correcting us appropriately. Go ahead, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna present to you my application for a variance. So, do you want to formally close the special exception hearing
You think continue it?
or table it?
We'll continue it.
All right, fine. I assume that's unanimous?
You have to call for a vote to continue.
Okay. I'll make a motion to continue.
Make a motion to close the,
The special exception and go ahead and do the variance first.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ron. All in favor?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, this is the variance.
Okay, Tom.
All right, for the record, we'll start the variance application. My preceding comments for the background of the outline stand as discussed earlier. I have nothing to add in terms of the proposed project. Here to discuss maximum residential unit density. We're asking for a variance. We don't believe, first of all, your test under the variance application, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. We're asking for a modest change from 2 units to 3 units, or otherwise known as 6-bedroom for the 2 units to 7 bedrooms. The building's been in existence since early 1920s. I'm not sure, I couldn't find a record as to when the garage was built. I'm sure it may predate the zoning, I don't know. It has been there for some time. As I handed out earlier, the graphic in terms of the existing use in the area with multifamilies being highlighted, there are a number of properties that are multifamily, several two-family units and several single-family units within close proximity. I believe the spirit of the ordinance will be observed in granting this variance because the presumed purpose of the maximum residential unit density requirement is to prevent an excessive amount of living units on small parcels of land. However, the city's master plan is encouraging neighborhood and village zoning districts to encourage the development of mixed residential commercial use property. It also promotes the development of mixed using housing types and cluster development with an emphasis on maximizing high-quality, function-rich green space and natural resources. We believe we've met that burden. Substantial justice will be done in granting this variance. The applicant has proposed for a minor increase in the number of living units, as I mentioned, from a total of 6 bedrooms to 7. Therefore, it would be fair to allow this additional 1 bedroom on this parcel on Pine Street. The value of surrounding properties will not be diminished if the variance were granted. The improvements proposed to this detached single-family residential structure is consistent with the zoning in the neighborhood, and there'd be no adverse impacts to neighboring properties if the maximum residential unit density requirement is waived or otherwise amended from 2 to 3. Littler enforcement of the ordinance would not result in unnecessary hardship because, first, under special conditions, this use dates back to 1920. Prior to the institution of maximum residential unit density requirements, the owner is not proposing a redevelopment of the entire parcel for purpose of increasing the number of living units. Rather, it's proposing the modest reconstruction of existing wood frame structure into much-needed living space within the city along Pine Street. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the purpose of the ordinance and its application of the subject property. The city desires to increase the number of living units in the city in close proximity to downtown, open space, and city parks is offset by the recognized need to support a viable and affordable housing within this community. The proposed use is reasonable. The site is used commercially for rental of affordable residential housing, which is both grandfathered and allowed into this zone with a special exception, which we'll talk about later. That concludes my remarks with respect to the variance application. I'll take any questions.
Why don't you start?
Thank you, Tom. The garage, you're using the existing structure just like, it looks
Same.
like it's a livable space right now. I don't see garage doors on it.
It's,
Yeah, it is a livable space right now. It has been.
yeah. Using the same footprint, 18 by 24.
Have you been renting out that space?
Yes, there was a misunderstanding prior to this on the rules, so that's why I'm here.
Is that why you're here tonight?
That is, yeah, I've learned a lot in the last few months, yep.
Someone's in the space.
Public comment?
Scott, how are we on green space on this lot? Do we have any calculations?
I don't have a calculation.
Their grandfather died.
The calculations are provided on the site plan. I can read them to you if you would like. Stamped on the plan, it's certified that those are
The
accurate.
site plan here, John?
this one.
Site plan, you got this plan?
This one.
It looks like that one.
Yeah, but he has numbers in here. See if we can see the size of the lot.
All right.
I mean, it's so, this is green.
Yeah.
It's filled with crap. This is dirt. That's mostly dirt.
Yeah, that's,
It's, I think,
Now, have you,
this is the variance.
you know, that you need either 5 or 7 parking spaces, as I've heard both those figures tonight?
as I understand your regulations, Roland,
Two cars.
it requires 1.5 spaces
It's
per
telling me that these
living
cars
unit.
can get out. I don't
We're
know how they're
proposing
gonna get
3 total living units, therefore we need 4.5 spaces, and your ordinance has us round up to 5.
Fire hazard. I don't know.
Currently, there's 2 or 3 cars using the 2 spaces, or the 2 living units. There's a 3rd unit in the back. Provisions are there'd be additional parking space. We've made provisions along the structure, as well as 2 additional parking spaces next to the garage with the removal of a shed. So we're proposing 5 accessible parking spaces.
And you have plenty of space to dump the snow, because that's always a problem.
Correct.
in the wintertime.
Yeah, and I believe currently they're using, as they drive in with a snowplow into the property going in the northerly direction, they're depositing snow in this area here, which we made the provision that that would be a snow storage area as well.
So Tom, can I go back to my questions about the parking?
Sure.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience with us. I'm looking at the diagram, and you mentioned in your opening remarks that that driveway is 10 feet.
That's correct.
And so, in that 10 feet, you're proposing taking up room for,
Well, let me be more clearer. There's a 10-foot paved driveway adjacent to the 10-foot wide paved driveway. It's a 10-foot paved apron that's serving as parking today. That's why it looks cluttered in there, is because they've got a contractor's trailer, which was there 2 weeks ago. It might still be there. I didn't drive by today. And as well as 2 parking spaces. So the contractor's trailer would obviously have to come out of there to make access to the rear. So there's essentially a 20-foot wide paved driveway, but the city declared it in the tax card, it's a 10-foot driveway. So I went along with that and highlight on my plan that there's a 10-foot paved parking apron that somebody put in, and they were able to keep the lot coverage within the ordinance of 64.7. They kept it under the prescribed limit of 65.
64?
We're at 64.7, and the ordinance allows 65.
Because you've got here 61.4 across here.
That's probably frontage.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, you go to my
okay.
table, I don't know, your plan has, the table here, I accounted for the lot coverage existing and proposed. The 61.4, you see, that's a dimension, is frontage, 61.4. That's a linear dimension.
Okay, but I guess I was using it to then calculate, I was also using your little,
Oh, my scale?
your scale
Yeah.
here at the bottom to calculate the dimensions of this width.
Correct. The driveway comes in along the fence line on the easterly side of the property. It's literally, the fence line is, it varies, there's a little wiggle in
Right.
the fence. The fence line's between 6 inches and a foot from the property line. It's paved right to the fence. And so there's, I'm
Right.
calling the paved portion along the fence the driveway, because that's the obvious place that someone would have driven into the garage, would have gone straight into this garage.
So if when I used your little ruler at the bottom,
Yep.
I'm looking at spots 1 and 2 here, and I came up with, that you need 16 feet according to the dimensions in this handbook, in this ordinance book, for the width. And I don't know how you have that width.
16 feet for a parking space. I've never heard of that.
Well, I'm looking
That's
at,
a 1.5.
that's for a 1.5, because because you're multifamily requires 1.5 cars. And if you look at 1.5 cars, it says 16 feet, not 12.
16, it's length?
No, see,
Oh,
18 feet would hold. two
that's
cars,
2, and yeah, but if it were 1, it would be 12 by 20.
Right. And that would still leave him 8 feet for a drive.
But width-wise,
If he has 20 feet,
I've got 20 feet of paved area.
so that would,
it would be tight, but they.
it would be tight.
I'll grant you that.
Yeah, it would be very tight. The other concern that I have about spots 1 and 2 is that they are tandem. And in the past, we have not approved tandem parking. We had Appleton Street where they had tandem parking, and we did not allow for tandem parking, and we turned them down.
Interesting. At the corner of Gale Ave and Pleasant Street, there's a multifamily I walk by on occasion. They've got tandem parking, and they've got a third space actually blocked in by the tandem parking, and those 2 cars have to move to get that third car out, which was approved by this board.
I don't think we voted on that one.
You know which one, the big
You
house
know-
I
on
know
the
what you
corner
mean.
of Gale
Yeah.
and
No, that
Before you-
has nothing to do
And
with this
Pleasant.
application.
No.
he does have
Mr.
tandem
Chairman?
parking.
Yes.
Could I just clarify with regard to the parking space
Please.
dimensions? 23547 dimensional requirements, page 117 in the zoning ordinance. Paragraph A, standard parking space. Each standard parking space shall contain a rectangular area at least 19 feet in length and 9 feet in width.
999.
117.
Yeah,
Page
I'm looking.
117.
Yeah, I'm getting there. We go.
Except where spaces are located parallel to the travel aisles, which is the case with these, then the length shall be increased to 22 feet.
We've got more than enough space. If the board wants to make the motion to amend the parking spaces to 22 feet, I'm showing them at 10 by 20 feet, so we can extend additional 4 feet in total along that side of the building with no problem.
That would, like, car number 2 could theoretically pull forward and back out.
Yep. Still tight.
Using 2 cars there.
Yeah, so there it is, 1999 in width. Yeah, and he would have 22 there.
Oh, boy.
And parking spot number 4 and 5, that's gravelled areas, and there's no intention of putting asphalt over that, correct?
That's correct. The lot coverage is predicated on that as gravel. And I understand, unless you want to make a representation tonight, but we're trying to keep the impervious in compliance with the ordinance, and so my understanding is we're gonna leave it as gravel.
You have the two apartments and the big house are rented. The apartment and the garage is rented.
Yes.
That's 5 spaces. Are you accommodating 5 spaces now on that property?
There's currently a shed where we're going to be removing it to show 5. So 4 is what's currently in place, and by removing the shed, it would open up the 5th. So if there was any concern on the trailer in the driveway as far as crowding, that's just in preparation to be able to remove the shed.
How about if people come and visit? Are they gonna have a place to park off-street? Because Pine Street is no place to park on.
Right. While I was there surveying, one of the tenants in the front apparently had a visitor. They parked in the driveway for 10 or 15 minutes, did their business and left. So the driveway gets used for temporary parking.
Yeah.
That's just, and I'm sure likewise, all the other residents along Pine Street and throughout the neighborhood, they're doing the same thing.
Right.
It's not officially a parking space, but it gets utilized as one, and then they have to move when the snow comes.
Is it Hyatt? Am I saying Hyatt? You have a dilemma here. I would like to get you out of this disaster.
Thank you.
The place, these pictures, it looks like a tornado came through.
Yeah, so again, so the trailer's purpose is temporary, just to be in preparation to remove the
It
shed.
looks like you have cars covered with tarps and,
Bicycles.
well, just,
The tenants have various playground items. There's a oversized model in one of the pictures that somebody is trying to repair in the backyard. Adjacent to the shed, I think there's various solid waste there that's gonna be removed as part of the project. I saw a lot of toys, a lot of kid items in the yard.
well, kids will play, and that's fine, you know, bicycles laying around and little carts and stuff, but I want to get you out of this dilemma, and I'm not sure how we can do it.
Anything excess is planned to be removed from there, you know, any debris or any junk. The tenants have been asked to keep the area clean as well.
Yeah, I told you, it looks like a junkyard.
One of the tenants got a little too comfortable storing some things out there, but, you know, we're cleaning that up actively now.
Laconia needs the housing. I would love to approve it, but the way you showed up here to ask for our approval, I would like a motion to table it, come back with some photos with the shed gone
And the yard,
and the yard clean.
we had a place like this a couple
Mr.
months ago.
Chairman, how is that germane to the case in point?
The case in point is, you're asking us to approve an apartment that's already there, and I would like to approve it. But this looks like,
Can I make a suggestion as part of your motion?
please,
That you impose one of the conditions, for condition 1, that the site be cleaned up and photographs evidence provided within 30 days of this hearing, or 10 days within this hearing, whatever prescribed, and that we would comply with that forthwith. We'd give the marching orders to the tenants to clean up their act. If they don't do that, we'll bring a dumpster in and we'll clean it up ourselves and be done with it. We'll provide photographic evidence to that.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, because I think there's wasted parking spaces there.
There very well may be. Certainly when the snow comes, the snowplow's not gonna give a darn He's coming through, he's gonna
Right.
push the toys there's a little hobby car there in repair. It's gonna get pushed into the bank.
And lawnmowers.
Okay, fellas, you can sit down and I'll ask if there's any comments from the neighborhood. So I'll open a public hearing at 7:46. Are there any neighbors that would like to speak for or against this application? Nobody's coming up and talking tonight.
That's okay.
Okay, discussion.
When I saw it, I didn't see how they can do the parking they're saying that they want to do. I don't. They need to cut bushes, they need to do all kinds of things
I
to.
think that they've demonstrated by the dimensions of the board that they can fit the
Yeah.
parking space in that meets the zoning. Again, it's our
It
job
looks
is,
like
our
if the
job is
shed
not-
is gone, they can get 5 parking spots.
our job isn't to determine what is ugly or not.
It'll be
No.
tight.
It's not.
Right.
It's real tough.
Director, question for you is, does the math work relative to, have you guys done the math, or either one of you done the math relative to the parking space and the building and the lot? Have you guys done any of that yet?
Well, the,
So let me ask my question first. Is it our job, is it the zoning board of adjustments' job to determine the square footage and the dimensions of parking? 'Cause I'm thinking, he's demonstrated that it can fit, the math fits. Isn't it planning that will go over that and will correct that?
they will, because it's multifamily, they will require planning board approval
Sure,
as
sure, sure.
well as the ZBA.
Right, okay, fair. So we're approving the ability to put,
And they may very well end up back here for further variances.
fair. But our job isn't to do the math relative to parking and space. They've demonstrated that it can fit. Planning will actually do the math with that. We're kind of just saying, all that this variance is for three units, three family units, right? That's really it.
Well, that's what the special exception is for.
Okay, so we're doing the,
For the variance, it's
It's the
to add on an additional unit,
right.
but you have to have
So we're
enough
doing-
parking
Right.
for that third unit.
But he's
And just to, and just so the board understands, as Mr. Selling said, the property is located in the housing
Yep,
redevelopment
exactly.
district.
Mhm.
And if you look at the density requirements or allowances, I should say, density permitted, it's 23521, it's on page 43 of your zoning ordinance, and it's paragraph B3, density permitted. Unit density within the district shall be computed as the total number of units divided by the total parcel acreage. Density is limited to 12 units per acre, or the current unit density of the redevelopment area, whichever is less. So we'll assume that the 12 units per acre is the lesser of those two, because to go through and do, we couldn't do the calculations
Understood.
right now.
Sure.
So I did
This point
do a calculation based on a density of 12 units per acre.
All right,
They have 2/10 of an acre there.
Yep.
And it comes up to 2.4 dwelling units. They would be allowed on that site.
that's prior to special exception.
Well, no, the special exception is required to allow a multifamily structure in that district. you are permitted a single-family or a duplex by right in that district. And if you want to have multifamily, which is defined as 3 or more, a special exception is required.
Mhm.
If their lot was just a little bit larger, and they had their lot was large enough to do 3 units per acre, they would only need the special exception. They
Sure.
need the special exception because the parcel is only large enough for 2.4 dwelling units.
Sure, so that's, and that's, the special exemption is to allow for the 3.
To allow for
Yes,
3, yeah.
For sure, yeah, I think that we understood that, sure.
So this really, with the variance, then, if I'm understanding this, there's consideration of the fact that it's really, the density is, only allows for 2.4,
Correct.
right?
And they're asking for 3.
And they're asking for 3, and of course, I still have a question about the parking, which goes part and parcel with all of this. But you're telling me that, by reading that paragraph that you read to us, that if he's got 20 feet, this parking space here can, in a sense, pull up and pull out to back out?
That's what
That's-
the standard is in the city's zoning ordinance for parking. That if they're gonna have stacked parking.
If they're gonna have stacked parking, and
They have to be 22 feet in length.
And that's probably why we didn't approve Appleton, because they didn't have 22 feet, but he's got 22 feet.
So he can,
How, is car number 5 gonna be able to get out of there if car number 3 is parked there? It's pretty tight.
Yeah, carefully.
So they would have to have that 10-foot right-of-way in between there.
Bumper cars.
Well, again, I'm saying, is that something that we, is that dimension something that we need to concern
yeah,
ourselves with?
that's
Or is
what
it?
the planning board will
Yeah, exactly, that's why
address that.
it's not,
And if they can't satisfy the planning board requirements,
exactly.
then they would have the right to come back and apply for a variance from the parking requirement.
I see.
I mean, I'm inclined to approve this. It's tight,
Well, the unit's already there.
yeah.
I
well,
wanna get them out of the dilemma.
all right, so.
I don't wanna tear down the
Right,
garage.
and here's my reason for it. I think that they've demonstrated that, or in my opinion, they've demonstrated that the math can work. It's minimal, it's not ideal, but it does fit these, it fits the math of the ordinance, and I think it fits the spirit of the ordinance as well. And with housing redevelopment, before housing redevelopment, was it the same number? Like, we get 2.4 units existing. Does the housing
No, it would be, actually would be less than that. Where's my-
And again, we are looking for living
Because
space.
I think it's, let me see. RG, right? Are we in RG? Yeah, it's 6 units per acre without the housing redevelopment overlay.
All right,
So that
So
overlay
you'd say-
allows double
understood.
the density.
So with the double, we're at 2.4.
So, under standard zoning, if he were not in that housing redevelopment district, he'd have
Right, right.
1 unit
Understood, fair enough.
allowed for that parcel.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. So I'm inclined to say yes to this. I don't know if cleaning up the yard, I mean, I think that's just outside of our purview, I think. That's my opinion. Maybe
I
other
know.
people feel different.
No, it's true,
Well,
but
I mean, if it was my neighbor, then maybe I'd be here saying something, but nobody's here saying anything.
because they're all tenants,
Right, right. And
Correct.
because they're all tenants, so they don't get it.
And this is your enforcement right here.
yeah, there you go. So I'm inclined to grant the special exception
the motion.
for it.
Well, you've got to finish the variance first, because that's what you've been discussing.
Right.
I'm sorry, right,
That you're going to allow 3
exactly.
dwelling
units.
units where
Right.
2.4 units
Right.
are allowed
My
by the
notes.
ordinance.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
You did open it up to the public for the variance, but when you go back to the special exception, you'll still need to.
I have to open it again. Thank you for reminding me. I'm new at this job, folks, so I need a little coaching.
You're doing a very good job.
Thank you, Roland.
So so. Gonna make a motion?
Richard,
I'm sorry, why did I say that? Richard?
Robert's the other
Okay.
guy.
I know.
One moment, let me collect my thinking here. I make a motion that we accept, but that we approve the variance number 0108 VAR for Pine Street, based on the finding of the fact that the approval will not be contrary to the public interest. We are looking for housing. We are looking to satisfy a need that exists. The spirit of the ordinance is observed by granting in that we are making more housing space available. Substantial justice, in my opinion, that it is helping the current owner out of a current situation. There is no evidence either for or against property values moving in any direction. And again, I'm gonna say also, the hardship portion of this is the property is currently occupied. What is the guy gonna do? I'm complete.
Good point. We have a motion?
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion of the
Yes.
motion?
What are we doing about the mess in the yard
That's next.
Well, that's
Irrelevant.
That's separate.
after.
after what?
This one. Doing the
Comes up
variance
second.
first.
We need to approve him to have 3 units.
Okay, well, I'll second the motion so that we can approve.
Jane has seconded it. We're further discussing and for a vote.
Take a vote.
All in favor of Richard's motion? Out.
Okay,
What was it?
because
Roland?
we need the
What
housing.
was the last one?
To approve them to have 3 units on that lot.
No, I'm not approving that.
That's fine. The motion carries 4-1. Thank you. All right.
So now we have to open up the special exception.
So you wanna reopen?
Reopen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what's this one?
That's the variance. One special exception.
Did we pause this, or did we conclude it? Michael? Did we
No.
pause, or did we
Yes.
conclude?
No,
We
no,
can-
no, it was continued.
It was continued.
So you have to reopen this discussion now.
Okay, we'll reopen the discussion for the variance.
Special exception.
Yeah, we're on special,
Special,
we're back
yeah.
to special exception.
I'm getting confused with special exceptions and variances.
I've got all the answers for this one anyway, all written out. No, the special exception is to allow for this lot to become multifamily, because right now it's two-family. No, you allowed for, the variance allowed for a 3rd unit. But this is to take this zone, which is now classified as a two-family, and it has to be considered multifamily, which is why Tom presented that map to you to show you that the
Right,
neighborhood
right.
has changed and has become
So
multifamily.
we're changing it
Yes,
from
we're changing
green
it.
to red.
Correct, correct, that's why you have the special
could live with
exception. Yeah, in fact,
Okay.
if you want, then you have to open it up to the public to
Right.
comment.
So, are there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against the application? Nobody comes up. Gee, sometimes we have lines of people.
It's cold out.
All right, back to the board for discussion.
This is on the special exception.
This is for a special exception, to change it to multifamily, and I have no issue with that at all.
Yeah, I think it seems to make sense.
Yeah.
It's
It
suitable.
flows into
It is.
I would just like to include the tool shed's gone.
Well, he's already said that they're taking that out. They have to
Yeah.
take out both of those.
Right.
Those
Tool shed's
outbuildings.
gone,
Yeah.
junk cars are gone.
Tool shed.
That's not our problem.
Mr. Director, Miss Director, how do I say that? Sorry.
Call me Kathy.
Kathy, excuse me. Is it under our purview to, like, for example, in a detail like this, to say, you need to clean up the yard? Is that something that?
No, that's not within the
Fair
purview
enough.
of the
Okay, I
board.
just wanted to clarify in case we were moving in that
That would
direction.
be
Right.
I guess I can't say that.
Tool shed's gone.
code, that would be code enforcement.
Fair enough then, okay, all right, fair enough then.
Okay,
So,
that one. Tool shed.
All right.
so
Okay.
they're gonna
Any
go,
further discussion?
I think that they're gonna go before planning. Planning's either gonna work out the parking or not work out the parking. And if it doesn't, then they might have to come back for something else.
All
Or
right.
if they can demonstrate.
I
that-
will entertain a motion from Ms. Hayward.
I make a motion to accept these,
Approve.
or grant the special exception for 34 Pine Street, which is, Marcia's looking for the number for that.
Number 14, number 14.
No, she's
Special
looking for
is
these numbers.
0107, I believe, is the
Yes.
number for the special exception for 34 Pine Street,
Correct.
to allow it to become multifamily. And the findings of facts are as follows. A, the use to become multifamily is permitted under Table 1. B, the request will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety because the area is already used as in that particular fashion of multifamily, and you have sidewalks for pedestrian safety. C, the use will not overload public water, drainage, sewer, municipal systems, because we're only adding one family to it. The use will not create excessive demand on police, fire, schools, and waste disposal, because again, we're only looking at the addition of one family unit. Special provisions, letter E, is the removal of the tool shed. F, we will not create hazards, health, safety, or general welfare or detriment because it is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood that already exists. And G, the use is appropriate because again, the neighborhood is multifamily. So the request is in accordance with the spirit and the master plan. And that's my motion.
A second?
Thank you, Richard. Any further discussion? All in favor? It passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, fellas.
He did a good job presenting.
Thank you, Marcia.
You're welcome. This is gonna be a tough one. I know it.
Oh, moving right along. 80 Pogus Park Road.
We've got two again.
What is it?
How do you do?
Good. Dave Wright, 80 Pogus Park Road.
Dave Wright?
Yes.
How can we help you, Dave?
I'm going to have Eric, who's with Terrain Management, articulate what we're looking to do at 80 Pogus Park.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name's Eric Buck. I'm a landscape architect with Terrain Planning and Design. We're here representing David and Cheryl Wright. This project involves the demolition of an existing non-conforming single-family residence and construction of a new, more nearly conforming single-family residence in the residential single-family zoning district. The Wrights property has 63 feet of lineal frontage on Lake Winnipesaukee. They have received shoreline permit from New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for the project. We're here before you tonight seeking relief for the 50-foot setback from the reference line, as well as the no less than 70% green space coverage for the property. With respect to the reference line setback, the existing house is well within that 50-foot setback. It has been since it was built in 1960. We are pulling the existing deck back 6 feet from the water line. The current deck is 14 feet from the water line. The proposed deck is going to be 20 feet from the water line, and then the living space within the house is even further back from there. With respect to the green space coverage, we've incorporated a number of best management practices within the design to decrease the overall impervious surface of the site. So we have a permeable driveway, permeable patios and walkways. We have an infiltration trench around the entire building, which will collect the roof runoff and filter that into a bioretention swale, which will be on the lake side of the property. So we feel that overall, though we can't meet the green space, given the size of the lot and proposed structure, we are making good efforts to increase the stormwater management for the property, and as I mentioned, decrease the overall lot coverage, impervious lot coverage. We're also taking a portion of the existing house that resides in the side yard setback and making it within both side yard setbacks. So our only setback infraction is the lakeside setback.
Good job, Eric.
Happy to answer any
How do we
questions.
handle these two variances?
Right, so
Because we had
so you
two of
guys
them.
just presented both your
Oh.
green space and.
I'm sorry, yeah, they were both variances, so I lumped them together. I'm happy to.
That's fair,
happy
the
to-
information all at once
Yeah.
is fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we have to handle them separately again.
Correct.
Yeah, so which one do you want to do first?
We'll do shoreline setback. Now, which house is yours in this photo? Is it the center
It's
house
this
in my
one right
map?
here. Yeah,
Okay.
it's that
I don't see a before and after picture, which would help me.
Let's see.
The
I've got
existing
one
and
right
proposed
here.
plan in the plan packet, 11 by 17. The first sheet will be the stamped survey, then the existing conditions and proposed conditions plan are following that.
This one, I think, is the new one right here.
Very good, lovely.
Yeah, isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
And this is what it is now. It's this one right here, yeah.
Okay. Our setbacks, our side yards,
Mhm.
10 feet here, 10 feet here.
Mm-hmm.
So shoreline doesn't matter much. Road has plenty of room
Mm-hmm.
up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, so it's a nice plan.
It is nice.
Thank you.
And I think it'll be an improvement over what's there now. All the way around, between the.
Point of order.
This driveway and
Point-
patio deck.
Point
sidewalk.
of order.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me, Ron.
We have two variance applications. Are
We're
we
gonna do
handling
the
both
shoreline
at the same
setback
time, or-
first, and then we'll do the green space.
So we're taking them both at the same time?
No, apparently not.
He wants to do the shoreline variance first.
So that one is ZO 2023-0110, correct?
Yes.
It's this one.
Oh, I didn't ask for any public input yet.
Nope, you have it. Unless you want to have people ask them questions.
Are there any other questions from the board? Have a seat, fellows. I have to ask if there's any neighbors that would like to speak for or against your application. Yes, sir. State your name for record, please.
How you doing? My name is William J. Masco Jr. I'm a direct abutter to Dave and Cheryl. I have no issues whatsoever. They've been upfront, telling us about their plans, helping us out, kind of understand what they're looking to build. I actually went through reconstruction renovation about 6-7 years ago. They're actually using the same contractor as I did, who's very thorough. I have no issues whatsoever. I would love to see the house that they're building right next door to ours. I think it will bring up the neighborhood very well.
Very good, William. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
input.
William, are you as I'm facing the water, are you to the left or the right?
To the right, on the blue house.
I love your house.
Thank you.
With the little white dog?
Pardon me?
Was the dog yours?
Yes, the 2 dogs.
Oh, I saw a little white one.
Yep, the little girl was a little skittish on the new flag setup. But thank you.
Thank you, William. Sir?
Eric Demers, 74 Pogus Road, also a direct abutter to David Wright. We also did some work to our house a couple years ago, understand the process quite well. He's been very upfront, shared all of the plans with us, and including how he's going to go about it. Would love to see the house also be rectified to the new design as well. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Eric. We'd like to hear positive words from the neighbors. It makes me feel much better, approving. Ask for a motion on, does anybody else wants to talk? I'm sorry. Okay. I'll close the public comment and ask for a motion to approve the shoreline setback.
I'll make a motion to approve the shoreline setback for 80 Pogus Bay Road, and it is, why am I always struggling to find my numbers here?
It's number
Application number.
It's number 17 on our.
Thank,
17.
thank you,
0120.
0110.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And actually, to make things easier, I would give as findings of fact to use what has been presented in the application as the evidence.
Lovely. Thank you. So I have a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Roland. Any further discussion? All in favor of the shoreline adjustment? Lovely.
They did their homework.
Moving right along,
Now you're going to
we have to approve the shortage of green space, and I think the narrow lot is the hardship itself, and the house is gonna be a great improvement over the existing cottage. And it seems to be the trend of the street that all the little cottages are going away and nicer homes are being placed in there for enjoyment of all involved.
You want to open to the public on this one as well?
Yes, I will. I was just making a little commentary. And, is there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against the application? Seeing none said, let's close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
No discussion amongst the board
Oh, yeah.
on either of these.
Well, we actually do the discussion after the motion and the second.
No. We talk amongst the board
We
before.
talk before the
we make-
motion,
So
sure.
that we put our thoughts on the table.
I don't have anything.
What would you like to add, Richard?
Oh, I have nothing on this one.
Lovely.
You're just helping.
Yeah. Okay.
I have nothing on this one either. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I can do it again.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the request for 80 Pogus Bay Road, Park Road, to have a variance on the green space requirement. This is request number 0109. And to make life easy on all of us, again, the finding of fact is what has been presented in the application.
Very good.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion on the motion? None being, all in favor? Very good.
Look, guys.
Mr. Wright, enjoy your new home.
Thank you.
That brings us to 228 Layton Avenue. Setback adjustment. Bruce?
Hello. I'm attorney Phil Brouillard. I'm here representing the Jody Stewart Trust with Ryan Stewart. We're here to ask for a side setback variance. In keeping with the chairman's enjoyment of having the abutters say that they don't have any problem with it, we invite you to look at your package, and the direct abutters, the Dailies, have written a letter saying they have no problem. And basically, I'm going to have Ryan discuss the need for the variance from the setback. We are actually pushing the house back from the lake, so it meets the 50-foot from the shoreline, and we're actually pushing the side setback back about 6.4 feet, but we still encroach about 6.4 feet into the side setback. But the lot is only 100 feet wide, and with 25-foot setback on one side, there's a septic system on the other side, so we can't really push it in that direction. So I'll let Ryan speak about the plans, and then I'll address the variance criteria, and then we're very pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Ryan, how do you do?
Good, how are you?
Lovely, lovely. Doing well here.
So we're looking to replace our existing structure with a new structure. Right now, the existing structure encroaches by 10 feet into the setback, and the proposed structure will encroach by 6.5 feet or 3.5 feet less. We'll be further away from the lake at 50 feet. And we're seeking the variance because if we go further north along the lot, our septic system is over there, and it'll make it a little bit difficult for us to make that all work with the topography of the land on the north side.
And Ryan and Jody have received their shoreland permit, and they did use these plans, which are presented to you, to get the shoreland permit.
Did you go there, Richard?
And the garage will remain?
Actually, it's interesting, the garage is gonna be located on the other side, away from the side with the encroachment. So the side with the encroachment's actually gonna look that much bigger, because the garage is presently on that side. So it's going on the other side of the house. So basically, when you drive up, you're not gonna really notice that it's that close, because the garage is on the other side. So it's gonna open that area up.
So this is the proposed house, right? Yeah. And so he's encroaching this way.
Yeah.
It's only 6 feet.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's nothing.
So that's the plan to open it up, and if it's all right, I would move into the variance criteria. If there's any questions about the plans, we can address them now.
Any questions from the board? No? Go ahead.
The variance is not contrary to the public interest, because upgrading substandard single-family residence housing in the RR1 zone and moving the structure further away from Lake Winnisquam satisfies the ordinance's basic zoning objectives. Demolishing and upgrading the home on the lot would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, and in fact, the new structure would be more in character of the existing homes abutting the lot. Granting the variance would not threaten the public health, safety, or welfare of the city and its inhabitants or abutting property owners. In fact, an updated, more building code compliant new home would be better and safer housing stock for the city. The existing structure encroaches the setback by 10 feet. The proposed structure will enclose 3 feet 6 inches less than the existing, making the new structure more nearly conforming. The spirit of the ordinance is observed, and residential use of the property is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance. The property is in the RR1 zone, which allows single-family housing. The existing structure has been in place for over 60 years and has not caused any harm to the health, safety, or general welfare of the community. Allowing this variance to replace the existing home with a new house will have no adverse impact to the health, safety, or general welfare of the community. The zoning ordinance specifies a minimum distance from the side boundary to prevent congestion and overcrowding of land, and establish a consistent consistent distance that houses are set back from the property line. In this case, the variance does not violate the spirit and intent of the ordinance because granting the variance would not result in overcrowding. Further, the directed abutter has no objection to the variance. The proposed structure will be more nearly conforming than the existing, since it will be 3 feet 6 inches further from the lot boundary than the existing and would allow a reasonable setback of over 18 feet. 3, substantial justice is done. Analysis by the ZBA should compare what the applicant stands to lose or gain against what the community, taken as a whole, would lose or gain. If the loss to the individual is not outweighed by a gain to the general public, then that constitutes an injustice that granting a variance would be able to remedy. This proposal is a win-win, a gain to the applicant and a gain to the public to improve the structure on the lot and move the structure further back from the lake and moving the structure further away from the side boundary. The proposed structure placement will allow for the desired improvements while causing no harm to the general public. The value of surrounding properties is not diminished. It is clear that the existing dated structure is in need of replacement. Surely no doubt exists that a new building code compliant structure would be an asset to the neighborhood and would be a positive influence on surrounding property values. The proposed structure will replace the existing structure, adding value to the existing lot and surrounding lots. Literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance provisions would result in unnecessary hardship. Unnecessary hardship only exists if it is derived from the special conditions of the property which distinguish it from other properties in the area. This property has several unique attributes that contribute to the need for a variance. Those attributes are unique within the context of the neighborhood where the property is located due to the lot width of only 100 feet. The setbacks of 25 feet on both sides limit the use of the lot for its intended purpose. For example, use of the septic system as designed would be difficult to accomplish with the limited space on the north side. It will allow a reasonable placement of the structure to be fully functional and fully used as a residence. Allowing full use of the lot. The proposed structure will be more nearly conforming with a smaller encroachment on the side and a full 50 feet from the shore. And those are my address of the variance criteria.
Very good presentation, Bill. It's,
You did our job.
And we're happy to answer any questions or sit down.
sounds like a great plan to me. Go ahead, take a break. We'll open the public hearing. Is there any members of the public who would like to speak for or against the application? No takers.
No,
We'll close the public hearing.
they like everybody.
All right. I'm all for it. Sounds great.
It does sound great.
It's making it less non-conforming across the board.
Exactly.
Attorney Bulliard laid out all the findings of fact
He does everything for us.
appropriately, so
Jane, easy to make a motion.
Well, it shouldn't be too difficult.
No.
I make a motion to approve application number 0115. It was a variance. Correct. As stated by Mr. Boulard, all of the facts are covered very nicely.
very good. Thank you, Jane. We have a motion. Anybody second?
Second.
Thank you, Roland. Any further discussion? Sounds like a great plan. Let's let him go ahead and build, okay?
I could take a vote.
Yes. All in favor? Unanimous.
Nice of you to just,
Michael-
Yeah.
Thank you, folks.
Michael worked today, so he's a little
Yeah.
tired.
I thought you were retired.
Well,
Still have 2 days in line.
Oh, do you? Oh, gee, 2 days in a row. It's gonna be your height. This is the- Right here, it says 31. That's all they wanna do.
goodness, we killed a lot of trees today.
Okay, next on the agenda is 602 Endicott Street. Allison and Donald?
Yes.
How do you do, folks? Tell us how we can help you.
So, we purchased, the property at 602 Endicott Street East.
Excuse me, just a minute. What's the number of this?
It's 0116, variance
Variance.
0116.
for 602 Endicott Street East.
Oh, okay, okay. Did the wrong one. Allison Trapani. Recognize it.
Yes, One Beacon Insurance.
One Beacon Insurance.
Yes,
No kidding,
yes,
huh?
it's nice to see you.
It's a small
It's
world.
funny. So, we purchased the property in September of this year, 2023, and we had every intention of doing immediate improvements. One thing that happened once we signed on the purchase and sale is that we were told that two things were going to happen. There's an abutting condominium association, Edgewater, and they had plans to move the fence. So the variance is for shoreline, but we're also very close to the property line as well, the way that the home sits. So the fence was getting moved closer to the home, as well as the shed that was existing on the property for this unit. So it's one of 3 units. 602 is one of 3 units, so we're considered a condominium. The shed on the property was essential for storage. So the way that the home is today, the basement is actually the kitchen and the family room, and then there's one level above it with 3 bedrooms. So when the shed was removed, because the abutters forced the shed to be removed because it encroached on their property line, there is no room for another shed on this property. If you look at the plot plan with the 3 homes in the association, we have sewer in one area, we have well in another area. So there's a very much a need for storage. So when we thought about the improvements we were making to the property, we knew that we had to stay within our existing foundation footprint. And we're very respectful of this lake. We grew up in New Hampshire, and this is a magical place. But we also have 6 beautiful grandchildren that we're trying to bring to the home and accommodate. And we have no storage and no room. So we would like to add another level, which would essentially be a 2nd floor on top of the basement. We have a lot of support from our association. Our president is not here, but he has written a letter. And then we have a couple of other neighbors that have written letters. We did tell the president of the condo association next door of our plan. We showed him the pictures of what we're doing. And we learned 2 days ago that he is opposing, unfortunately. So we'll see how that goes.
We were just make a few points. Obviously, we're staying within the footprint. We have a letter from Shoreline Protection Act.
Yes.
You know, letting you, I think you have a copy of that letter as well.
From Shoreline
Stating the
Protection.
approval of as long as we stay within our footprint, which we are.
I believe you have a picture of what we're doing. I'm not sure if you've seen the existing structure and,
I did a drive-by there 2 weeks ago.
okay.
And is it, your cottage is the one that's straight ahead as you
Yes.
pull in the driveway on, raised up on the hill, correct?
Yes.
And it will meet the height criteria as well, 31.6 feet.
So how that works too, I've talked with the city of Laconia, so we have to stay within 35 feet in height. So from the road, it's 26.5 feet with that 2nd level. From the lake, it's 31.6 feet. So they use the average of the 2. So we'll be under 30 feet in height. We plan to put maybe 1 window on the side for where the condominium association is, but on the 2nd floor, there are already windows that are overlooking into their property. We're about a couple hundred yards away from their structures, maybe 100 yards. It's a good distance, but we are trying to be very respectful. We have a lot of support with improving the property aesthetically, and that's what we're asking for. I don't know if there's anything I'm missing that's pertinent to in our guidelines.
did a nice presentation, Allison.
31. I had 35.
I see, okay. Just trying to look at all your plans here. I have a lot of renderings. Excuse me.
We're not excited about more stairs as we get older, but the grandkiddos can use that third floor. And we needed more closet space. We are not changing the number of bedrooms either. There's 3 currently, and it will remain as 3. We're making the 3 into 2 and then adding the third floor.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board for these folks?
Not for me.
We'll ask you to take a seat and we'll hear from the neighbors, please.
Good evening.
How do you
My
do,
name
sir?
is Steve Haynes. I'm at 604 Endicott Street East, and I'm the secretary of the association Sunrise Shores, of which they are now a new member. And I wanted to say we're delighted to have a new couple come in and put their time and treasure into rebuilding a somewhat tired older home. We have no reservations about anything they're doing. As far as the height goes, there are 3 separate houses that are very different on the property. And one to their immediate left is 3 full stories plus a peak, and their basement is also probably a third of the way out of the ground. So it's a pretty tall structure, 6 bedrooms. My own home, which is a cottage built in 1925, is a 2-story with a full basement. So we're very happy to have them, and we think they're going to increase our property values and probably our taxes, but that's the way it goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve, for your comments. Sir?
Hi, good evening. My name is Ray Tatu. I live at 561 Endicott Street East. Although I'm not an immediate abutter, I am 3 lots over from these folks, and I support what they're doing. I think it's going to improve the neighborhood, it's going to improve the values, and it's going to maybe bring a little tax relief to myself and others with them paying more taxes. And I also have a letter from their immediate abutter. He wasn't able to make it, but he did ask me to present a letter effectively supporting this as well. So can I turn this in?
Thank you. Thank you, Ray. How many units are there in the condominium?
3.
Seems like we have more neighbors than we have units in the condominium. Sir, would you like to come up?
I'm part of the Edgewater condominium, the neighbor.
Your name, sir?
Thomas McClellan.
Thomas?
So I'm opposed to the variance to build up. I'm concerned for the lake, and the property, their property is about less than 3 feet from our property line. Their structure is less than 5 feet from the lake, the foundation.
The deck.
The deck, is that right? I don't have the exact measurements. It's very close to the lake. The deck, so you're saying the deck is 5 feet?
Well, I don't know if it's 5, but it's not 50.
Oh, yeah, It's very close to the water. And then there's the deck, and then I understand the plan is to add, it's 2 levels now with a pitched roof. So the plan is to take the roof off and add another story, and then the roof, and then bring the addition over the deck.
No, that's not correct.
It isn't?
Just, the existing footprint will stay exactly the same. The four-season porches in the front of the property.
Excuse me, would you ask
We'll just
the
have-
questions of the chairman, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, what's that?
Speak to the chairman.
Yes, so the four-season porch that's already existing, the level above that will stay within that footprint. It's not gonna go beyond, like we mentioned earlier, it's going to stay within that footprint. But yes, it will indeed be 1 level higher.
Correct.
And what he's referring to is the peak. I mean, sure, it's not like there's gonna be an attic space above this, so it'll be an A-dormer. So that'll be a cathedral, and so the height of the 3rd floor will be the height of the home, essentially. So there won't be like attic space above that, so, again, staying within the guidelines of the 35 feet, so.
I guess my point was that the actual footing, foundation, is set back from the lake further than the deck.
Correct.
But the part, and I understand that what they're gonna build above will be above that deck. So, in fact, they'll be building heated space above the deck, which is whatever, 3, 4, 5 feet more than the foundation that exists.
I hear what he's saying.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand what he's saying.
And so I'm just concerned with, we're all concerned with the lake, let's face it, but, you know, you're gonna have, well, you got,
Because that isn't under a foundation.
there's runoff now, but if you're gonna be over the deck, so your runoff, the runoff of the new roof, whatever that height is, which is a little concerning in itself, in that, you know, I just think it could set a precedent, not only in Laconia, but other communities, that, you know, we're looking at a foundation that's literally way, you know, 5 feet, 10 feet from the water, being able to build up 2 more stories. And where does it stop? What are the Florida air ratio zoning
Stops at
in
35 feet.
towns? And do we want to see, you know, because, it'll be 1 more story, and do we want to see pretty, you know, tall, new structures within 5, 6 feet of the water?
But this is already there.
That's just my
I said-
concern.
You said it was existing.
And then, of course, there will be view
Season
diminishing from
Guess we'll have to ask him.
some of the condo units, potential property devaluation because of that, privacy issues because it's so close, literally
2 right here.
inches, 39, 40 inches from our property line. And, you know, with all due respect, you know, our property line was what it always has been, and the fence, in order to put the fence, the shed that goes with this unit had to be moved. I certainly can appreciate the need for storage space for anyone, but, I just think it could, you know, it's so close to the water. It's one of the closest, there's a lot of them on the lake, and there is some square footage being added more than the foundation. Is the foundation worthy of 2 more stories, and of course a runoff of the roof, and I don't know, are you guys on septic? You have your, is it, the condo, the condo has a septic? Oh, it goes to town sewer, yeah, good. So, that's my opinion.
Very good, Thomas. Thank you for your input.
May I just say,
Please, come on.
I just want to make it clear that we actually did change the roof line because the way that the existing roof is, it would run off into the lake. We're changing it so it's running off more into the.
To the sides, yeah.
So that was our architect's, just another way of protecting the shoreline.
Okay. Thank you, Allison. Sir, you'd like to speak?
Yes, please. Good evening. I'm an owner and a full-time resident at 614 Endicott Street.
Can you state your name, please?
I'm sorry, David Jones. Owner, full-time resident at 614 Endicott Street, which is a direct abutter. I'm also the president of that association, which is a 6-member association. I submitted a letter so you could review some of the facts. Most of our neighbors are out of state, so they couldn't be here tonight. I know another one did submit a letter of concern. I'd first like to know I have nothing against the applicants. They seem to be great people. My concern is the size of this building. They're going to build 34 inches from our property line. Bringing up a point just made with runoff, 34 inches is not far from the property line. It's a huge concern. Personally, my concern is I'm going to lose water views. I'm on the top floor. I look over their house right now. Losing water views is also hooked to values of the property. I've been there 11 or 12 years. I don't think a hardship was proven. They knew the house was non-conforming when they bought it. None of the plans have been discussed with us. We didn't have any input with this project. I did see some photos of it a few weeks ago. But I didn't know it was already coming up to the board here. So none of our association has any input with this. There are some other options available to the people speaking with Shoreland, and they can move the whole project like some predecessors of this meeting will be doing. They can move off within that 10 feet off the property line, as long as their words were impact reduction. So if they're moving it further off the lake, the shoreline would consider that. So there are some other options for the applicants. I'd also like to just make a point that their application for the variance was a little misleading. On line 3, it says other neighbors have been granted permission for improvements that were non-conforming. I believe that was directed towards me because I have a current building permit now on the other side of the property for a non-conforming house. I just want to let the board know that I shrunk the footprint of my house. I also moved it further from the property line, opened up the view for my neighbor. So it's not apples and oranges that we're talking about. I improved it, I didn't double it. Another concern for myself as well as the association is this is our beach area. Yes, our building is a little ways away, but this is our beach area. This building's gonna be towering 34 inches from our beach. Our privacy is gone. To me, that's what the zoning laws are in place for, to protect the privacy, the value lost my train of thought on that one. But I think a lot of the points were made in the 2 letters that were presented to the board. Certainly open to any questions. Like I said, I have nothing against these applicants. They seem to be super nice people, but this is definitely a detriment to our property.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Hi. Can I speak?
Oh, please. Say your
I'm
name,
Wendy
please, ma'am.
Haynes. That's my husband, Steve Haynes, and we are part of the Sunrise Shores Condominium Association, where Allison and Don are keeping within the pre-existing footprint. And where it bumps out on that upper floor, They're not extending beyond that point. And if you look at the third floor, it backs up to the original part of the house, which is 24 by 24, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What unit are you in, ma'am?
I'm in, what are we, Unit 3?
Yes, we're Unit 3, closest
So,
to the street.
We're closer to the street. Dave Irish, if you're looking from the street side, Dave Irish is 596. We're 604, and then Allison and Don are 602.
I pulled up in there and I was confused as to which house was which.
Yeah, well, there's two driveways. We have a lower driveway and an upper driveway. Dave Jones's suggestion that they can move the house back is where the well is. There's lines there to the sewer line as well, water line to our house. Our sewer line is on the lower driveway. We're very excited for them to improve the house. It's quite old. And it does not impede Edgewater's view front-wise one iota, not a bit. As far as the beach going, there's already existing windows in the old house. So they're not making it more noticeable. That house has been, it was even closer to the water. And the people that Don and Allison bought it from had some years ago, before we were there, had moved it back. So I guess the town or the city of Laconia had approved it back then. And with the shed, I understand the shed situation. It was, again, prior to our time, prior to Dave Irish's time, the previous owners put the shed partially on the neighbor's property. So they had an attorney draw up a letter a couple of years ago stating that if they were ever to sell it, that they would have to remove it. We never signed it because it was their shed, and our attorney said under no circumstances are you to take responsibility of that shed as an association or as individuals. They named the association and also individuals. So it was removed, but now in doing that, it has left them without, they have zero storage now. So we're in favor of it. Dave Irish wrote a letter, I believe you have. He is the president of the association, but could not be here tonight.
Have it.
There's 6 units here?
Three.
How come we have unit number 5 from David Jones?
That's Edgewater. They have 6 units.
Oh, that's
It's
the
unit
next
number
door.
5 and an adjoining property.
Oh, okay, because I have an overhead view here, and it's only showing the 3 units, but not the next door. Okay, all right. It's making more sense now.
So, you know, we're very much in favor of it. Our house is off to the side. It's just not possible for them to move it back for, like I said, because of underlying, the well is there, and also septic lines lead from their house. And the well lines go to our house and also to Dave Irish's house. So you really, it's very close to the house as it is. It's a pre-existing foundation. They are not touching the foundation. It won't be doing any damage to the waterfront at all because they're keeping that basic foundation. But, you know, we're just hoping that you'll approve it so that they can have some storage and have room for their 6 grandchildren
Very
when they
good,
do
ma'am.
come. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Do you need a copy of Dave Irish's letter?
Well, we could take it for the record, sure.
He said he emailed it to you on September 16th.
All right, you're Steve, correct?
We've got a copy of it, Michael.
Is it in the packet, Scott?
Should be in the packet.
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, yeah, we've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got it.
Oy, oy, oy.
So what's the big this business?
Is the problem?
No, they want to put the third story.
Yes, right, this.
Right.
Yeah. And it brings it up 31 point, what did that say? 31.2.
You should really be speaking up the microphone.
Okay.
It's 31 feet, oh, with the pilings. How big are the pilings? They're underground.
I don't see a plot plan. Now, Mr. Jones said that the property's only 3 feet from his property line, the house is,
We have a plot plan here if you'd like.
let me see it, please. Thank you. Oh, that's it.
I can slide over. Now, which is the house that's being built? That one. Oh, so he's the property line, not the structure.
She just,
Structure's only.
Are we discussing amongst the board right
Yeah,
now?
but that can't help that.
It's already
That's the
there.
way it is.
See, these people are all living over
If
here.
the ES says okay, it's all right.
Mr. Chairman, you really have to make your comments for the public to hear.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the plot plan, and the house is right up against the property line, but that's pre-existing, and it's okay to stay there. Unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately for some, the views are not
Right.
protected.
Yeah.
I know, we've had that case on the, that development that we approved earlier today in not Paugus Bay. You know, the people across the street living in Guilford were complaining they're getting their view of the lake blocked.
We
Are we
also
speaking
had
amongst
that.
us, or are you talking to them right now?
The mic, I'm speaking on the mic. Public comment. So views are not protected.
Chairman, may I add something?
Sure, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
I do agree with you, views are not protected in New Hampshire. I think our biggest issue is the privacy issues with our members. 34 inches off the property line, I know it's okay to stay there. You're talking adding all that footage right over our beach area. It's a huge privacy issue. Views aren't protected, but that will affect the value no matter how you look at it. So it's a value issue, it's a privacy issue, and there are other options. The property is a large property, there's certainly a lot of room on the property for a shed. Many sheds could be added, sure.
You're saying that their property, their building is 3 feet from
Their foundation is 34 inches off the property line. We had it
Okay.
surveyed.
How far off the property line is your house?
We're 150, 200 feet away. Our building is. Our beach is right next to their house.
You see her wrong.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The house is right up against the property line here.
Yeah.
Just less than 3 feet away, right here.
But I was looking at their place to see how far.
Mr. Jones's is over here.
Yeah. So who's being, her here, if by the house being there? There's nothing over here,
Mr. Jones's house is over here.
right?
So that's a 6-unit condominium building. There's 6 of us on that side.
Yeah.
Like I
It's
said,
about 200 feet away from the property line, give or take.
that's accurate.
Where the beginning.
That's why I'm wondering how, about the privacy issue.
Because our beach is right up against there. That's our
Well, it's not your
recreation.
house, it's the beach you're worried about.
Right, that's the privacy issue. But
I'm-
you're 34 inches away, and you're gonna tower up that much more. So we did put up a privacy fence, but that's out the window when you add all that space up above us.
You make it seem like we're building a monstrosity. Code is 35
So-
feet.
I'm not being facetious when I say this.
Okay.
Recognized by the
Excuse me, sir?
chairman.
I'm not being facetious when I say this, but when their house was for sale, it might have been a good turn to buy it.
Well, you could look at that a different way. They knew the dilemmas when they bought it. That's why I don't think they've demonstrated a hardship. They knew the shed had to go. They knew where the property line is. And the other thing that's a little disappointing is none of this was discussed with our members. We had no input on it, no input on windows. Maybe there could have been a compromise.
Right, but they weren't required to.
I realize that. But like I said, it's definitely a detriment to our property. I know there's no right to views, but losing those views does affect the value, no matter how you look at it, and the privacy issue.
Okay, Mr. Jones, thank you for your comments.
I'd like to just add one comment. As I recall, that side of the house has no windows. Is that
No,
true?
we
On the
have,
third floor,
we're proposing one small window there.
In the
that
bathroom.
I've advised Mr. Jones that we can remove that window.
Yeah.
But there's a few large windows that are already overlooking their beach area.
Yeah, there'll actually be less windows.
Ray, did you want to speak?
Yes, please. Just in my mind, for clarity, we're talking about, or they're talking about adding one level onto their house, which is gonna be bedrooms, and I can't imagine that they're gonna spend their time in their bedrooms staring down at the beach, people on the beach. So it's one level, and it's, again, sort of being described as, a multi, tower being built.
Thank you, Ray. I tend to agree with Ray. I don't see a horrible hardship by raising the bedrooms upstairs. That it's gonna ruin the property next door. I don't see that.
And is it, to my understanding, that that third floor is set back from the bottom two floors?
well, the bottom floor is already set back.
Right, but
Then the second floor, as it exists now, sticks out. Their third floor comes back in again.
No, it actually doesn't. Well, it's gonna be an open porch, it's not gonna be living
Excuse me,
space.
Mr. Chairman, when people are speaking, they really need to come to the podium so that we get it on the
Protocol.
tape.
Sorry.
So back to what they were
Okay,
describing.
Doug.
So again, the existing four-season porch that's there, yes, the additional level will be directly above that. It won't be set back at all, but it won't be any further out as well, so. But it will be an open porch, not living
so,
space.
I mean, what they want to do is okay.
It's an open porch.
Okay. I'll give this gentleman one last chance. Go ahead, Tom. It is Tom, right?
Buying a place and wanting to do what we want with it. I just think going, from the water, you'll be looking at like 4 stories. And,
No,
well, you got,
absolutely not.
well, you have a walkout basement now, no?
No.
What do you mean, no?
There's 2 stories now. They're gonna go to 3 stories.
This is the existing, this is
Wait,
the
wait, this is
existing.
these are your new plans?
Correct.
What
This
about
is-
a picture of the,
This is
Well-
existing, this is the addition. This is the basement with the kitchen.
so that's the walkout?
That's a basement, and that's bedrooms, that's a kitchen, family room, bedrooms.
So, yeah, again, there is square footage being added towards the lake.
No,
Oh.
it's not square footage, it's a porch. The square footage is going back into this.
Well, like I mentioned before, I've been there long enough to know that it's basically a walkout first floor,
I have a photo here,
below grade,
Tom.
no windows in the back. And then you have first floor, and then the roof. But all I'm saying is they're gonna add square footage with the new construction that's gonna be 4 or 5 feet closer to the lake and 4 or 5 feet closer to the lake than their existing foundation is.
Okay, Thomas, thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman, you might want to give the public one last time to speak and then close the public comment session.
Yeah, everybody has said their piece already, ma'am.
I just want to say one other.
Okay, come on up, come on.
We're obviously abutters to Edgewater. They have done tremendous projects over there, and we have never given them any issue with anything they wanted to do. And Dave Jones even asked me, well, you could have come to the meeting. And I said, why would we want to do that? We just want to be good neighbors. We understand it's very close to the property line, but it is pre-existing, and I hope that you will grant it for them. Thank you.
Very good. We'll close the public comment at this time and discuss it among the board.
Well, I just don't see what they want to do is not being
Yeah,
doable.
I don't think the third story is gonna
Yeah.
be horrible to the neighbors that the house is 200 feet away.
Kathy, this variance is simply because a side setback, and they're asking for a building permit, and they cannot, and because it is non-conforming on the side setback.
Excuse me, they are, yes, non-conforming lots, uses and
Exactly.
structures, page 127.
Yep. So really, all that we're dealing with is a side setback. That's all that this is
I
about.
didn't think it had anything to do with the side setback because we're in the same footprint. They're
No,
not,
but
they're only
because-
going up.
Because they're getting a building permit.
That's still an expansion of a non-conforming use.
Yeah, but it's a vertical expansion.
Correct.
Right.
Not
That's
being
why
more of a
Not,
setback.
not more of a
No,
setback.
Or
so what
less of a
I'm just
setback.
clarifying for us,
Yeah.
that this is about a side setback, that's all that it is.
And shoreland.
Well, shoreline that comes in contact with it as well.
Shoreline's
So,
already approved it.
So I stood at the end of the driveway of 614 and looked, and you can see this house right along the side, and it is right along the edge. It is within trees, and even from the driveway, I didn't go on the property, but from there, the house is already tall enough that you can't see the lake anyway.
It's up on the hill.
No, if you, the drive of the right-hand neighbor is level. So the gentleman was saying it's interrupting my view of the lake, and I'm just saying that it's not. It's because I was right at the drive, I took a picture of it looking down, and you can't even see the lake over the house, and it's set within trees there.
Right.
I'm just giving you guys some
Yeah,
information, that's all.
I was there last week.
Yeah, yeah.
That's inaccurate, though. I'm 30 feet higher than the driveway.
Mr. Chairman, they,
Dave, I'm sorry. Well, that's the board is gets to discuss. We close the public comment at this time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I'm in favor.
I'm leaning in favor.
One thing that we could do, what if we were to make a judgment relative to windows along that side?
Well, they only have one window there.
Right, no, I'm listening to what she said, there was one there, and so she says there's one window there, I think, on the third level. Maybe if we had them take that out, and even on the porches, if there was a way maybe to put some privacy screens. I mean, because a privacy screen would also be something, no, that would interrupt the view of the lake going side to side.
And their bedrooms.
Is that something that we can do?
I don't want to
Building detail like that?
restrict them to saying you can't have a window
I'd be
in
okay
the
with that
bedroom
as well.
upstairs.
Their bedrooms, so they're not gonna really be
I mean-
walking around with their eyes open.
But in general, I'm in favor of this. They will have to, with building, they will have to file their shoreland, and that will take care of that part of it. And that's kind of my thoughts.
Let's see if I can be brave.
Who's it, because they have it all written out.
Here's-
I make a motion to approve the variance for 602 Endicott Street East, which is application number, here goes Marcia again, never finding her application numbers.
got it
Oh,
here.
wait, I got it, 0116, to allow for the construction of a third floor onto the existing structure within the setback. And the finding of facts are that the, number one, it is not contrary to public interest because the request is not unduly violating the zoning ordinance, which is a maximum of 35 feet, because it is 31.2, I believe. So therefore, it is within compliance of the ordinance, and therefore, because it is in compliance with the ordinance, the spirit of the ordinance is being observed. Number three, substantial justice is done because there is no gain for the general public, and by denying the request, we would be imposing a hardship on the owner. Number four, property values are not diminished because there isn't any evidence to either way. There isn't any data indicated that it would diminish any properties nearby. Literal enforcement would result in undue hardship. The conditions of the property are, I think, the fact that it is a non-conforming lot, and to make it more usable for the owner, and the request is a reasonable one.
Thank you, Marcia. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? All in favor? Good luck, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for staying through all the trying tribulations
Actually,
tonight.
it wasn't really bad. No, it's not bad.
Thank you guys for staying late. I was on the Board of Adjustment in my hometown in New Jersey, so I know.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a 10 o'clock limit, so we're fine.
Oh, okay. Everyone wants to get home to their family.
My cat.
Very good, folks.
Not anymore? Yours. I didn't bring, they're yours. I didn't bring them.
No, but we have more business.
I don't think we have any other business.
We need to discuss something. Okay. What's next on the agenda?
I love our new books.
Adjournment. Or other business.
Kathy, you'll have to remind me, you should probably have a little bell, you know, when people start talking out of turn, if you just remind me to shut them up, because,
We'll do, bring in the lefty.
but, you know, I'd like to hear their comments, but, you know, they're out of protocol.
gosh.
We need to keep
Yeah,
some sort of protocol.
yes.
And if you remind me a little bit, I'll get better at it, I
Okay.
promise.
And your new books are wonderful.
Well, good. I'm gonna be adding some
Of course,
materials.
I'm not
for you.
surprised.
That was a trying case today with the house on Pine Street. Thank you all for support and input.
Well, we need the housing there.
You know, that was a mess, that place, just a
Can't
disaster.
discuss it.
I'll discuss it, I'll go in
They
the,
have a 30-day appeal period, so.
I'll go in the Daily Sun and tell them what a mess it is.
Can't, well, Scott is here, he's aware, he will take the appropriate enforcement action.
And even if your grass is too long, tell him and he'll deal with it. Those people on Holman Street.
Have we finished our meeting yet?
No,
Yeah,
he has
well-
No,
not adjourned.
no, we're still talking publicly.
Kind of.
Other
Those
business.
are tough cases. What other business do we
Other
have?
business.
Any new business? I
No
make a
business.
motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second?